Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Hashtag Rising Artists. On today's episode, we chat with Sam himself on his latest new music video, Nothing Like the Night, as well as other conversation points, just like talking about how he recorded some of his songs in his mother's attic, cheese talk, just a little bit of everything. So if you guys want to hear more about that, stick around and hope you guys like it.
All right. So for the fans who don't know who you are you, Sam?
Good question. I'm Sam himself. I am from Basel, Switzerland originally, and I now live in Brooklyn, New York, which is where I'm currently sweating my hat off. And I am releasing my first LP in October of this year, and just put out a new single for that called "Nothing Like the Night" a few years ago.
So
Did I say a few years
you
ago? A
did,
few weeks
yeah,
ago.
yeah, a couple
So,
weeks
and
ago.
I'm thoroughly dehydrated. A couple of weeks ago. So sorry. For the record, it's not years ago, but weeks. I always confuse the two. That's me in a nutshell.
All right, all right. I did get the chance to take a look at both the song on itself as well as the
Mhm,
music video. Oh my gosh, we'll talk about both of them in a second, but
mhm.
loving the tune. Uh, I'm brand new to you, and first introduction wise, definitely got me like excited for you. Because it made me think of like Arcade Fire as well as like I thought of Queens of Stone Age the first time I heard the song going through my head.
Oh, interesting. That's so cool. That's a band I used to listen to a ton
Really?
during a formative period, and then yes, and that would not have occurred to me, but makes total sense now that I think about it. That's cool.
It was like honestly the first thing that popped into my head. I was just like, why does this sound like the Queen of Stone Age? And I at first thought I got the band wrong in my head, and I'm re-listening to the band again, and I'm like, no, 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 I think I got, yeah, I think about right, yeah. But
That it's trust your ears always. I that's the fun part about putting something out. It's absolutely terrifying, but then people say what it reminds them of, and that's almost always beyond my own like imagination or association. So that's always more interesting to me than like telling people, oh, it's influenced by XYZ. Because like who cares? It's what you hear in it that makes it special.
exactly, exactly. So I am curious, how was the writing process for this song? Because I've heard that it's been a journey.
It, yes, one might even call it a trip. I was pretty much a year ago, a year and change ago. This time, I actually mean a year. In March 2020, I came to Europe for a tour, like right at the outset of COVID. And then the tour got canceled, and I pretty much stayed in Switzerland, my hometown, for like 11 months or so, rather than like the few weeks of tour that I planned and packed for. And during this time, I put out an EP and stuff. I stayed pretty busy, and I also wrote a lot of songs because I was kind of, as so many of us probably had a lot of cabin fever, like kind of felt a little lost and alone in my
As I
own
understand.
head, in my own four walls. And so I started recording what I thought was going to be the demo, and then took it back here to my producer, Daniel Schlett, whom I've been working with for my last few EPs, and we just took a bunch of stuff that was demos originally, and then kind of like laid down some new tracks and pretty much recorded my LP in under a week in January.
Wow. I mean,
Yeah,
I definitely completely understand with the cabin fever. Feeling it definitely on my end for sure. So how when you got the news of like that you had to cancel a tour, how were you feeling on that time?
awful, man. I was sorry, going back
Good.
inside. I'm sweating too much. So that was terrible. I was driving somewhere in outside of Zurich. Funny enough, because you mentioned you had an acquaintance from there earlier.
Yeah.
And then I kind of like was listening to just the news, and like holy shit, I might not be able to get back. And my partner at the time, the person I was with at the time, kind of called it quits on that same car ride by FaceTime. Was like, listen, this is not going to work out. So it's just like, my
Yeah.
life. I was feeling a little self pity. Yeah, shit is what I thought. So that was the initial thought of the album. Was
So he quits, and you're on your own.
she quit,
She
and I'm alone, and drowning in self-pity, and it's like dawn and I'm driving. That was like the initial moment, and then obviously you can't hang on to that for like, forever. At least I couldn't. And so after a few weeks I was like, all right, this is, I'm a little butt hurt and a little vexed, and my plans didn't shake out the way I thought they would. What now? And so I started kind of building out this little studio in my hometown, and also in my mom's attic, because I didn't have an apartment for the first few months. Yeah, and just kind of like went wild with the recording, and then was really validating when those demo tracks and a lot of the like homemade tracks just kind of ended up on the LP. Don't tell anyone though that it's homemade.
I promise I won't. I mean, then again, there's currently a bunch of artists right now who are working with homemade recording studios at the moment. So I
So
don't
I
think
hear, yeah.
what was it? You mentioned earlier a second ago. How's it like recording with your mom? In the
So she wasn't there for a lot of it, but then I think one time she popped in. I was laying down what I thought was like a killer bass line, and then my mom came upstairs. I felt like a teenager, and I was, Mom, I was in the pocket. But it turned out pretty all right. Like I don't think you would hear which parts I cut, at least the instrumental stuff. I would say you wouldn't always hear which parts are like the fancy New York studio and which parts are, Sam's mom's attic, I hope, because the mix is so good.
let's talk about that music video for a second, because that music video was so much fun to watch. Um, can you tell me the process, like what the story plot line
Yeah.
was for that? Because it's a lot of branding of yourself.
I put out an EP. Okay, in the midst of all the mess that I was describing, I put out my EP, Slow Drugs, and did a whole lot of self promotion, just like the game. A lot of social media, a lot of this, a lot of because it's people cared and wanted to know more and talk to me and stuff. But it's also kind of short circuit to basically losing your mind because you're so like frequently watching yourself on video. Like I heard myself on radio in Switzerland a lot, which was also awesome and kind of weird,
Yeah.
so that just constantly to myself and my mug and my thing and whatever, that was a little lesson in like how to scale back and pace yourself when it comes to self promotion. So that's maybe what I wanted to do with the video, and it was also just really fun because we had a bunch of poodles that I got to play with. Yeah, so good times all around.
Yeah, gosh, that was like the first thing my little sister saw, were the poodles, and she's like, "Are all those his?" And I'm like, "I don't think they are, but I can always ask." But so how fun was it to work with poodles on the set?
So really, really smart, but really kind of they showbiz pros. So they would only come near me if there were little food cookies, what you call them, like little dog snacks, put onto me by their coach or trainer.
Okay.
So they were kind of non-plussed at the whole thing, but they're good sports at the end of the day. I think they're just like fully mean business. Yeah, they imagine like a poodle with its own agent. That's basically what they felt like. All five of them. Yeah.
Really? Wait, were they all different agents, or was it
Yeah.
just the same of the five?
Thank God. Yeah. No. There was one. There was one master of poodles, and thankfully she coordinated them and like told them not to bite me and stuff. So yeah.
That's good. That's good.
But definitely like the more professional, not so like by our pants, like me and my videographer. Yeah.
I got a few of these conversation cards just as a good kind of like idea for just to get to know you a little bit more for the fans. Let's start out with this one. if you were to press shuffle on your music library, what would be the first
Mhm.
song that would pop on
Right now,
right now?
it would probably be a Harry Nilsson song.
Ooh, all
Um,
right.
it would probably be the album Nielsen Schmielsen. I've been listening to that up and down. I was really get into techno recently, but I don't. I'm not sure if that's a phase. I kind of hope so. The stuff I always listen to is probably pretty obvious to people when they listen to my music. I love Bowie. I love Springsteen. I love Phoebe Bridgers. I love the new Saint Vincent record. Like a lot of kind of in I want to say my neck of the woods, musically speaking. And then yeah, some curveballs, some like hipster French techno in there and stuff. So might be surprised when you hit
Hey,
that play button. No.
hey, there's nothing wrong with techno. Okay. Um, so you had a bit of a rocky last year
Mm.
memory, but what would be your like happiest memory from last year?
So some of the happiest moments were surrounding the release of my EP and like how well that was received, especially during such a chaotic, frequently lonely year. Like to have that and to have people reach out and care and like send wishes or just have messages come in that like those were their COVID songs for better or worse. That was really good.
Sweet.
The few like pockets of touring and being able to play live when stuff was like briefly open in the summer and stuff. Those are playing live is always kind of the best. And then when it went well, the writing process, I think for the new LP, that's kind of my favorite thing to do. I would say playing live and like writing new stuff is sort of when you get a chance to do that between all the self promo that we talked
Yeah.
about. That's where it's at.
All right. All right. Pretty all nice. Okay. Um, so what would the title what title would you give this chapter in your life?
This current chapter. Oh my. Well,
Wait.
I would
So
say
is this a
maybe.
current chapter or is this a like on to the next chapter? What would you want to do?
So let's assume that I'm hopefully at the beginning of a new chapter,
All right.
both musically and personally. Definitely personally, and
Okay.
musically, I feel like the LP offers some new musical territory. Also, I would say the previous chapter was maybe Fear and Loathing in Basel, Switzerland. And the upcoming one is just like the part of the memoir where everything kind of works out and everyone is sort of finding themselves and going for runs and meditating more. That's the aspiration at the moment. Yeah. So that's what I'm hoping for. A good title for that, a working title might be just finding your mind after briefly losing it in 2020. Yeah, so something. Let's edit together. Let's workshop this, y'all.
Okay. So in terms of next chapter title,
Hmm.
looking out from the inside.
Nice. I think, if the inside is not a jail cell and the outside is not like a apocalyptic hellscape where there is no tomorrow, which
Yeah.
at times was kind of what it felt like when I left my studio at 6 a.m. in like full vampire mode, because my mom left me unperturbed in there. So I like that. I think that's lyrical. I think that's broad enough for all of us to
Yeah.
insert our traumatic associations with 2020. Awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Solved.
All right. Maybe I can use my trauma to help out with next chapter for you.
That's what I'm all about.
Oh my gosh. All right. So you got that. You got the new album coming out. Is there a certain song
Yeah.
off the new album that you are excited for besides Nothing Like the Night?
Well, yeah, all of them, but I would So I think, when is this airing? Do you know yet?
So I usually like to try to do this by the next day. But I can post this a
Oh
little bit
shit.
later.
No. Do you think? So I'm definitely excited for the song that's out. In that case, Nothing Like the Night. Check it out. There are two more upcoming singles, both of which I'm very excited for. And I think maybe what's lovely about making an album is that you can put on tracks that aren't necessarily standalone tracks, or can be a little more subtle or a little less pop, a little introspective in like a different way. That sort of an EP or a single doesn't always lend itself to, if that makes sense. So I'm curious, like, what
Yeah.
people will think about those, let's call them B-siders. I'm excited to share those for sure.
Usually I'm a big fan of B-sides more than I am with the main, because it just feels like, not saying bonus, but it's like extra bits where you're like, oh shit, why was this not in the first track to begin with? So it's a nice little bonus, I guess, to avoid the word
Totally.
bonus. But
And just speaking of what we've been listening to, do you like Fleetwood Mac? Ever
I
mess
am
with Fleetwood
familiar
Mac?
with Fleetwood Mac. Yes.
So their record Tusk, which was like not that big a part of my life somehow until very recently, it feels like a total mess of a record. It's all like A side, B side, Z side, X side,
Yeah.
whatever. But some of those songs are like just the most B side and the most precious of all time. So yeah, that's what I have in mind when I talk about B sides.
I'm gonna have to re-listen to that album. It's been a bit.
So good, so crazy, so much cocaine, too much cocaine. Probably sounds like too much cocaine. Yeah.
Ooh, I'm gonna do one more random card question before I kind of like start to wrap it up. What is a dream you've let go of?
Control, I think, in all its many guises and forms. That's maybe one reason why I named the upcoming LP Power Ballads. It's a little bit of a self dig, obviously, like, being an indie rocker in 2021 is like, you got to do some soul searching. But also this idea of like having all this control and being able to make a plan and then the universe will comply somehow is ridiculous, right? At best you can like laugh about it on a good day. So I don't know if that's a dream so much as just like a bias maybe, or just a lesson
Works.
that I've learned. Yeah, I think control is like, it's not that real, I don't think. What
I
about
know.
you?
Honestly, control does definitely sounds like something I'm trying to get rid of. Because I'm known for like control and making sure everything is set properly before I can even go forward. And next, you know what? I'm never finishing a project. So
Yeah, same.
definitely believe,
I
yeah.
think the good news for people like us, I'm the same way, is that we never had it to begin with. So like there's not all that much to lose, because we never had control. I don't think. I don't know. That's a working theory. Let's see.
Hey,
Let's see what happens.
honestly, this is relatively new for my magazine of doing these type of interviews. So I'm pretty much just letting the universe decide how this is going to go.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, that's universe. If you're listening, be on our side, please.
Please. All right, so you're gonna head back to Switzerland soon.
Yeah.
Now, I know a little bit about everything, a little bit about hearing things, what's not from my sister. I noticed right off the bat that music video. Is Switzerland really a bunch of people who eat cheese? It's just random, like.
So let me say something, and I really appreciate the question, because I've been meaning to air this for a while. So
Okay.
how in the US Swiss cheese is like a type of cheese that's kind of gross and has a lot of holes.
It is, yeah.
So that's just one type of Swiss cheese. I would just like to advocate in favor of the like broad universe, right? The wide array of tastes and textures that can be categorized as Swiss cheese. There's just so many different kinds, and that kind with the holes, it's called Emmentaler. I don't even like that. I don't even fuck with that. So yes to your question, and they're all eating something different because it's just such a beautiful rainbow of like magical cheese experiences. Check it out. Yeah, if you're ever in Switzerland.
All right. So, as we come now to the end of this,
Mm.
where can my fans and friends find you?
Mhm. Pretty much everywhere. I would say that if you go on Instagram, you can find me at sam.himself. If you go on Spotify or Apple Music, you can just put in Sam himself, and I should show up there. If you go to YouTube, same thing. I just hit 1K subscribers, which in that weird self promo world is like a milestone. So thank you, everyone. And yeah, if you're not finding me, it's pretty much an intentional act of avoidance that I will take very personally. I'm just kidding. But samhimself.com if all else fails. Yeah.
Welcome back to the end, the void, or whatever you want to call it. If you like what you saw, you can definitely hear more about him in the link below in our description. You can also find more about him on our website at hashtagmagazine.net, where you can find him, not just him, but everybody else that we've interviewed and everyone else that we're going to interview. Other than that, I'll see you guys later. Bye.